The first song, United in Grief, has these really beautiful vocals that lead us into the song. The piano loops sound really elegant, and Kendrick's playful, energetic flow that he used in the first few moments sounded amazing and added a comedic edge to the song. The flow switches to a quicker, more energetic delivery, which only lasts for like 20 seconds, and then we get another sudden beat switch. The fast-paced drums sound really good, and Kendrick's sped-up delivery suits it really well. The chorus is also really memorable. The next song, N95, is really fun. Kendrick's flow is really good. This song is basically Kendrick using the word mask as a metaphor for the things people do, say, and wear to hide who they really are. I really love the chorus on this. Kendrick going, you ugly as fuck is hilarious. I really like the delivery and vocal inflections he used on the second verse. It sounds very similar to the ones he used on the first half of Mad City. The only bad thing about the song was that the beat was extremely bland. It has one of the most overused drum patterns in hip-hop right now, and the sample was super generic. World White Steppers is another really high point on the album. Kendrick talks about his battles with lust. He also ties in his spirituality really nicely. The second verse is also probably my favorite on the album. It's really tongue-in-cheek as Kendrick basically raps about having sex with white girls because it makes him feel like he was getting back at their ancestors. Basically, Kendrick chose to settle his vendettas with sex. The second part of the song is not as good as the first half, but it's still enjoyable. Kendrick basically talks about his problems with the media, even taking shots at studios that needlessly shove their political beliefs in a movie for no reason. I really like the last couple of bars on here where Kendrick talks about handing out toys during Christmas to everyone in Compton, not just the ones that grew up in his neighborhood. The chorus also has a bar that I loved. Photoshopping lies and motives, hide your eyes and pose for the pic. The song Die Hard has a really good beat, and I love the pre-chorus and chorus by Blast and Amanda Riffer. I know I'm butchering those names, I'm sorry, I've never heard of them before. Kendrick's I Popped the Pain Away intro was really nice, but I wasn't a fan of his verses on the song. It sounded like love mixed with loyalty, which are the worst songs on Damn and some of the most annoying songs I've heard in general. His verses are really corny, bland, and generic. I wasn't really a fan of his delivery or flow either, and if we're ignoring all of those things, the verses sound extremely underwritten. But Kendrick immediately bounces back with his song Father Time. It's another one of my favorites from the album. It might even be my favorite song of the year so far. The drums are really hard-hitting. The piano and vocal samples that pierce through during the chorus are amazing. And speaking of the chorus, Sampha's hook was fantastic. Kendrick gets really introspective on the song, talking about how his father's teachings and tough love actually impacted him negatively. Kendrick's impassioned delivery really makes you feel every single word he says. I would go as far as to say that this is his best performance since You. And again, it's probably my favorite on the entire album. He also ties the song together really well throughout, and one of my favorite moments of him doing this on the song is when he talks about Kanye and Drake and how he can't understand how they forgave each other and saying that he has a lot of maturing to do, and then later on in the track, he flips the Kanye hook on Everything I Am. It's a small detail, but I really appreciate it. Rich Spirit is a really weak point on the album. The beats are extremely generic, and Kendrick uses the same delivery throughout the entire song, which makes the song extremely repetitive and monotonous. The theme and message of the song is also really boring and bland, and he doesn't say anything of value throughout the entire track. The chorus, however, is one of my favorite on the album. I love the Stop Playing With Me or I'll Turn You Into a Songline. We Cry Together has one of the best beats I've heard this year. And you know how I said Father Time was his best performance since You? This performance is even better. I love how it sounded like Kendrick and Taylor were just having an argument and just happened to record it. I also really like how this song went from just Kendrick and Taylor arguing to them offering a little bit of social commentary towards the end of the song. They also managed to include the perfect amount of jokes throughout the entire song. They include enough to where the song doesn't come across as too serious or too melodramatic, but also not so much so that the song comes across as just one huge joke. And this is a technique I feel a lot of artists can't execute properly. Hell, even some movie studios can't execute this properly. Marvel. Purple Hearts is one of the corniest songs I've heard all year. The entire song is filled with Twitter bitch lyrics, such as, I'm not in the music business, I've been in the human business, whole life been social distance, they gon' judge your life for a couple likes on the double tap. The song also goes on for way too long, and the Summer Walker feature just feels unnecessary. Kendrick's vocals and inflections on the hook were really annoying. The Ghost Case filler feature was good, but it doesn't make up for the slog that the song was up until this point. The intro to the first disc, Count Me, falls into the same trap that the last song did, and that's that it goes on for way too long. The Fuck It Up pre-chorus was really nice and Kendrick rides the beat really well on this portion in particular, but the rest of the song just seems really underdeveloped and sounds as if I'm listening to a demo tape. Crown has a great beat. Kendrick's monotone singing does work, but you can't have this monotone singing for 4 minutes because the song starts to feel repetitive and boring. The song should have just been the first minute and the last 40 seconds. It does have a message, but it's extremely simple and could literally be summed up as, I do a lot of what people ask from me, but occasionally when I say no, they get mad and forget about everything I did for them. It's a really simple concept, and it definitely doesn't need 4 minutes to be fleshed out. And this seems to be a reoccurring theme on the second disc of the album because Kendrick's part of Silent Hill is extremely underwritten. The production in this is really good and it has a fantastic Kodak Black feature, but Kendrick sounds like he's not even trying. Baby Keem's interlude is amazing. I love the beats and Keem gives us a really strong verse. Savior breaks the trend of bad performances from Kendrick. He delivers 3 amazing verses about not looking at celebrities as saviors. But this was literally the entire concept of Damn. Like, XXX has the exact same message and does it a lot better, even though I do think XXX as a whole is quite a bad song. Sonically, the song is really good and it has a fantastic beat, but you made an entire album about you bitching about people expecting you to be a savior and how they shouldn't do this because you're just a human. So why would you make a song basically just reiterating the same points? Auntie's Diary, however, is another high point on the album. Kendrick does still use a more monotone and soft delivery for most of the song, but it doesn't feel repetitive. It just makes me want to try harder to hear everything he says. Kendrick basically talks about his auntie and cousin who are transgenders and critiques how society and religion views them and outcasts them. He even discusses the use of the F word. However, Kendrick never comes across as corny, preachy, or fake. He just sort of gives you the information and lets you come to your own conclusion. Now, I might be reaching because I've only listened to the album twice and Genius annotations weren't available when I used them, but I'm pretty sure that Shireen's cousin's name was Demetrius, so this song could be from her perspective, but I'm not too sure. Mr. Morale has a phenomenal beat. It kind of reminds me of something that Daveed Diggs would rap over. Kendrick's chorus and verses are really good, and he writes the beat really well. Listening to how good Kendrick sounded on this song, as well as the first half of XXX, makes me kind of want a full industrial album from him. Mother I Sober is probably the best song on the album. The song is about not dealing with past traumas and how that can affect a person later on in life. Like Kendrick's mother who was sexually assaulted, and then she didn't believe Kendrick when he told her that his cousin didn't sexually assault him, even though he wasn't lying. Or Kendrick going through a traumatic experience in the first verse and blaming himself for not doing anything, which led to him using sex as a way to cope with his problems. The song ties up the themes of the album really nicely, and Kendrick tells all of these stories really well. He uses a similar technique he used on Keisha's Story, where he starts the song off really calm with very little emotion, and then eventually becoming extremely enraged towards the end of the song. Mirror is a really great closer to the album. The beat is really good and it wraps up almost every theme of the album really nicely. One of my favorite lines on here is, "I'm sorry I didn't save the world, my friends. I was too busy rebuilding mine." Overall, the album was good. Kendrick does a good job of tying together all the themes of the album really well. The features were well spaced out and don't feel like they're dominating the album. The production for the most part was good, but there are a few moments where it feels a bit generic. Most of the concepts are executed really well, but there are a few songs that come across as corny or unthought out. Most of the songs are good, but there are a few that are underwritten or go on for much longer than they need to and become repetitive and monotonous. Even though the album is very long, it goes by really quickly, but I don't see why this album needed to be a double album. There's no drastic shift in its tone, production, or its subject matter, and the album could have benefited by cutting out some of the unnecessary songs. The album is mostly good, but it's far from perfect. It's definitely not an instant classic, but it's not even close to being a bad album. So overall, I'm giving Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and The Big Steppers a score of 72 out of 100.